Hello everyone, I'm Lien and I'm so happy you're joining me again today on the Crafty Meraki YouTube channel. As you've probably seen on the blog and on Instagram and on YouTube, Crafty Meraki has come out with a lovely new Meraki Hugs release, and this is one of my favorite stamp sets from that release. This is the Love Story stamp set and I'm using this one image. And I'm just stamping it in extreme black ink from My Favorite Things onto a rectangle die cut, so it has a stitched detail all around the edges there. The paper I'm working on is Clairefontaine DCP 250 GSM cardstock, which is perfect for ink blending and for alcohol markers, and both of which I'll be doing today. I think you can use any smooth cardstock that's good for alcohol markers. If it's smooth enough for alcohol markers, it should be smooth enough for ink blending as well. Now, my markers don't have the best options for skin tones, so I always struggle with that, but I swatch out a new one every single time to try and find the perfect one. Still haven't found it, but I'm trudging along. And I do love the color combination that I used overall. I used a bunch of green, some red, and some blue in there. I also used some orange for the girl's hair because my hair is also ginger. And I really like that pop of color there. I kept the coloring fairly simple. I used 3 markers for each color combination, which is the easiest to blend, and it doesn't give you too much dramatic shading, but I didn't want it to be too dramatic. I kind of want this card to look a little bit softer. For the green combination, I did use a couple more markers because I don't really have yellow greens that much. So I do most of it in blue greens and then cover the entire thing in yellow greens to create a similar tone throughout the blend. So that's something you can do if you don't have the perfect markers. You can just choose a blend that is close to it and that blends easily together, and then layer a different marker on top of it to adjust the tone a little bit. I made her dress a bright red, a cherry red. I really love it. And I blended it out into some pink, so it's not too dark either. Now, once I'm done coloring with this, I am putting that panel back into my Misti. I have left the stamp in my Misti from where I stamped it the first time. And now I'm just going to stamp over the image one more time with Versafine Onyx Black ink. This is a really crisp black ink, and I want to do some clear embossing on this colored panel. I am just going to add Wow Clear Gloss Superfine Embossing Powder, and I'm going to heat set that. Now, why do I do this afterwards? Because if you heat emboss before coloring with your markers, it's not great for your markers. Markers eat away at the plastic of the heat embossing. Yes, even if the heat embossing is already melted. And it might destroy your markers as well. So it eats away the plastic, it melts it, and that gets up in your nibs of your markers, and that's not great. So I try to avoid it, and I just do that little extra step afterwards. The only detail I'm still going to add with my markers is some ground. I'm just adding a little bit of texture there with a gray marker and 2 brown markers, just some stripes and dots to create a little bit of texture, maybe some cobblestones or something like that. Use your imagination. And then I'm going to ink blend a background. However, I'm not going to ink blend the entire thing. I am only going to ink blend a really small strip on my card. I want a lot of white space on this card, so I just put some purple tape there to mask off a strip. And as you can see, that strip is not going to be behind the entirety of my image. I really like the fact that the girl is walking outside of the strip. It gives it a really dynamic look. Now I'm also going to put a mask of the image on top of the image, and I'm going to add a third strip of purple tape to mask off a layer for the ground. So I'm going to blend that first. I just use some brown inks there and my blending brushes. I'm using Pinkfresh Studio inks throughout this this blending, and I will list all the colors I used in the description below. For the browns, I used I think I used dough and gathered twigs. Now I moved that strip of purple tape to cover the ground so I can blend everything else. I'm using some blue there. I'm using freshly cleaned blending brushes, which are the best. They blend really smoothly. And then I'm going to move into purple. I'm going to move into pink after that, some orange and some yellow as well. And this is my favorite little sunset combination or sunrise combination. I really like the colors of this, and I always stick with the same color blend for this. I am using really light inks, so some of them need some building up, especially that sparkling rose that I used for the pink, but it's worth it in the end. So it took me a while to blend that. I think I spent 10 minutes blending that tiny strip. And as you can see, I did go over that strip of masking, so that strip of purple tape. Now it's no worries because I kept my blending really light, and I can just erase it with my magic eraser. I'm not sure what this is called, but it's a wonderful thing. It erases pretty much everything. Now it does rip up the paper if you're not careful, so you really need to blend in both directions. Rub it in both directions is what I mean, and that will minimize how it digs into your paper. And I was able to erase all of that stray ink blending. Now all that's left to do is adhere this on top of a card base. I am using a white top folding card base, and I'm using Barely Art Precision Craft Glue to glue this on top of that. You can use double-sided adhesive if you're more comfortable with that. I just like to use liquid adhesive. And I'm using a couple of heart droplets to add a little something to this card. These are from Little Things from Lucy's Cards, and I'm just using 3 in varying sizes. I'm using my jewel picker to make sure they're in the right spot. And once I'm happy with how they're arranged, I am picking each of them up individually and putting a dot of Nouveau Deluxe adhesive behind them to adhere them down. I use Nouveau Deluxe adhesive instead of my Barely Art Precision Craft Glue for that, because the Nouveau Deluxe adhesive is quite a bit stronger. I folded a matching envelope with my We Are Memory Keepers 123 punch board, and I am just adhering that together with the Barely Art Precision Craft Glue again. Now this is some patterned cardstock, but it's just marbled cardstock, so it's a really lovely pink, and I thought it fit my card well. And I'm using one of the other images from the Love Story stamp set by Crafty Meraki, stamping that in Versamark ink and embossing it with Wow Bright White Super Fine Embossing Powder. I got a little stray fleck of embossing powder there, so I just rubbed that away with my fingers, and then I heat set that with my Jewel Heat Tool by Wow. I love that little girl blowing a kiss there. It's a really fun little image to put on your envelope, and I really like all of that white space on my card. I really like how this one turned out, such bright colors for the clothes, and then some softer colors in the background. If you haven't checked out the new release by Crafty Meraki, I highly recommend you do. It's full of lovely little Valentine's things, but also some cover plates, for example, that you can use all year round, and some lovely little gems too. I can't believe I didn't use them on this card. They are wonderful. There's also a giveaway going on Instagram. I will make sure to leave the links for those in the description below. Yes, we have 2 giveaways actually. They are both for one $25 gift card. All you have to do is hop along through both of the hops and leave comments along the way for a chance to win that gift card. I hope you check it out. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you next time.